What's up, guys? And the Super Fam is here. And what if I told you they're the best team in the game? All right, so before we jump into all the details on the characters and all the modes and all that good stuff, I just want to do a few big shout outs. First, I want to shout out Copy. Again, appreciate you helping me out over in Discord and really convincing me the team was worth looking at in the early days. So Copy was going after these characters, getting a lot of stars on them, showing us how good Supergirl was in the team. So again, big shout out there. Next person I want to shout out is Slack. Again, they've been helping me out getting footage and all that good stuff from some of the Krakens. So again, big thanks there. And of course, those Krakens and those players that have really put a lot of investment in these characters. I'm going to shout out Perez. Going to be some of the first footage we saw in Meta Brawl, taking down some of the big teams. And then the newest one is Geistog, I believe, or Geistog. Again, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, so apologize if I didn't. But those are going to be some of the videos we're going to be looking at as we dig into Meta Brawl. All right, so now that all that's out of the way, let's talk about Meta Brawl, because I know that's why everybody's here. Everybody seems to think this defines if a character is good or not. Deathstroke. We have this elephant in the room being the Legion of Doom team, just dominating all of the Meta Brawl, universe out there, and even having Justice League Dark and things like that. Like, sometimes you can do well, but realistically, Legion of Doom fully maxed has been the staple team if you want to dominate Meta Brawl. But I'm here to tell you, SuperFam is the answer. All right, so checking out this video here, we've got the team doing pretty well. So again, both sides of this fully maxed out. SuperFam team fully maxed out. Legion of Doom team. Again, one of the big things to think about is SuperFam only has 4 particular characters, so you are going to need a 5th. And what you're going to see, and I guess what we've been finding with the Kraken teams, is Green Lantern really is that 5th. Keep in mind when you're going up against a fully maxed out Legion of Doom team, you do need good characters. You do need max characters and things like that. But this team can perform in gold stars. And again, we'll look at some of this as we go through in a few and talk about star placement and things like that on the characters. But for the most part, the team is doing good. And what we're seeing, and not just that video, but the next video, again, a Green Lantern maxed out. Yes, I know that's super Kraken territory, but that's where the videos are coming from. And the team is able to compete. Now, I think that there's a potential you could plug in Raven, or again, if they're not running Joker, maybe even Ivy can kind of fill in some of those gaps for healing and things like that. But these are going to be some of those things we need to test once we get the team up and going and maxed and different things like that. Again, I'm just trying to show off that the team is good and the team can take down Legion of Doom. And this last one, again, this one's from Geistog, and the team is, again, performing really well. And at this point, we're even seeing like Superboy's not maxed. And in Perez's videos, Superboy was completely maxed. Here we've got a purple Superboy still doing good. So when you look at where you want to invest, again, Superman, Supergirl are going to be those 2 major characters you need to put investment in. Again, Crypto is going to be great to put investment in either way. He's going to be good in all the different modes. But at this point, now you can even see that just a little bit of investment in Superboy is going to really help you in Meta Brawl. So speaking of that, investment, characters, all that good stuff, let's kind of break it down with the 4 characters and talk about where you want to go. What's the sweet spot on these characters? And the hard part is I feel like a lot of these characters are all or nothing. So if we're looking at Superman, when it comes to stars, I think Superman's really great. And he's a character that just works at any star level, but he's really going to shine when you get him into purple, gold, red, so the higher levels. So he is one of those that you kind of want to go pretty heavy with. And that's kind of rough, right? But at least think of it this way. You do get him twice within the game. So you're going to get him right at the beginning. And then again, when SuperFan comes around, we assume, based on server stuff, and we'll find this out later, he should pop back up when the SuperFan comes in. But we're not 100% sure on that. It did pop up for a lot of people, but again, we have the movie coming out, so we'll have to see how they handle that for people who haven't even made it to the SuperFam And again, we'll be asking GC once he finally gets to the SuperFam in the future, just to see what happens in his server with the Superman repeat. Next up, we've got our other damage dealer in Supergirl. So Supergirl, this is the tricky one because Supergirl really needs to be in the high stars. So again, going back to what I was talking about with Copy did a lot of investment in Supergirl, did a lot of saving to go all in on Supergirl. And what they found, same thing there is, purple was kind of your minimum. So if you think of like your Deathstroke and things like that, like purple's where she's going to get a lot of her damage. Gold is kind of optimal where you want to get her. And of course, if you're wanting to go to like the highest levels, things like that, red is where you want her stars. But realistically, like I said, I think purple's kind of the minimum in order to get that damage that you're looking for. It is also going to evolve, when it comes to Superman, Supergirl, you really need both of them, Crypto, and then of course Superboy is going to pump all that damage even more. So realistically, this is one of those where if you're going to go SuperFam, if you're going to go Supergirl, you really have to have multiple SuperFam characters to get the most out of her. That way you can get that Krypton energy all the way up, maxed out pretty quickly in these battles. Next up, we have Superboy. Now, Superboy is one of those characters, I want to equate him to like Zatanna, but I think he works a little different than Zatanna. Zatanna definitely pumps up Constantine and Justice League Dark, but she's also decent with other characters, so Sinestro, Joker, things like that. And Superboy, on the other hand, really just shines inside of this team. So again, I think he can be usable if you just had to put him somewhere and you just needed a body. But if you're not going after Superfam, this is a character you can probably just skip, not worry about. But if you're going Superfam, you do want to put some investment in. And that's why I kind of equate him to Zatanna. I think Zatanna shines when you get her super high stars, but she does just fine when she's blue stars. I think Superboy's the same way. I think blue stars, you're going to be fine. Purple, he's going to shine even more, just like we saw in Meta Brawl. And of course, if you've already maxed out or you've already put a ton of investment in Supergirl and, Superman, then maybe you put a little bit more in there. But honestly, I think blue, purple, somewhere around in there, you're going to be good enough with Superboy as you go through. Lastly, we have the goodest of boys. We have Crypto. Crypto, he's just one you want to put investment in anyway. Now, 5 white stars, he's going to do his thing. He's going to be good. Anything beyond that is just going to be, icing on the cake when it comes to the dog. He's so good at saving characters. And the thing is, even if you're not going after Superfan, even if you're saying like, hey, Supergirl's too much of an investment, I'm really wanting to go after Nightwing, or I'm wanting to go after Martian Manhunter, or even Justice League Dark, and that's where all your stuff's going. Crypto being the mythic, so you can use your selectors, you can get them in random shards, anvils, all that stuff. This is where you do want to focus him a little bit more, because if you're going after any of these big teams, like Crypto is going to be able to save you. I use him currently with my Justice League Dark team. I can stay in Grandmaster in the top 10 every single week. It does pretty well, and that's where, again, he's really the key for that team surviving long enough against those Deathstrokes and other high damage characters. So again, this is one of those characters where he's fine. 5 white stars, you're good to go. But the more you put in him, the more you're going to see back in him. The longer he'll survive, all that kind of stuff. Mine currently is just into gold stars. We're slowly working him up to red. But honestly, when he was in purple, which is what I had him coming out of the event, he was already doing. All right, so Meta Brawl, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you're more PvE. How does this team do? Well, this team does well. So it's hard to kind of look back and forth of, are they better than XYZ and things like that? Because again, the way they work, they kind of work in a team. I've seen Supergirl by herself, but realistically, you want at least one other character. And if you have one other character, it's going to be Crypto. Crypto can get the counters going up by 2 every time he uses an ultimate, compared to the other one's only going to be 1. Superboy is one of those where you want to push damage in like, combat crisis, combat cycle, and things like that. This is where you really want to make sure that you are investing in them, and they do well. Again, I've seen some damage from Copy. I've seen some damage from some other people posting in the different events and things like that, and they're hitting very good numbers. Now, I can hit similar numbers with my Justice League Dark team, but again, It's going to depend on where you put that investment. Supergirl lasts a long time in a lot of these different modes. She does very, very well. Superman's always been really good in these modes to get you that extra damage, especially phase 1. I pretty much just brute forced everything with my Superman until I got to my Constantine to kind of finish off the last couple. So they're going to be very good in their phase 2. They're going to do very good. I don't expect this team to be putting up the biggest numbers. Again, you're probably going to be able to get in top 3, top 4, top 5, depending on what your server looks like, how much you invest in them, things like that. But as far as like the massive numbers, you're going to see some other characters throwing those up, like your Nightwing or your Joker, with a perfect team around him and everything. So, that's the team. This is the wrap up. My only thought that I want to add on to this, kind of looking forward, is there's only 4 characters. So we may get one more SuperFam character at some point. We may get a bunch, right? We have Bizarro out there. They could, for some reason, bring in, Lois Lane or something like that as a SuperFam member. So there are different things that can happen in the future. We have the Supergirl movie next year, things like that. And if we get a 5th character, this team could be like crazy. There's a possibility just adding one more. They're already right there at the top with Meta Brawl. They're already competing on different levels of the different modes in the game. It's going to be a good team, and when they get their 5th, they could be just crazy, insanely good. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're doing this investment. It does matter how many characters you have, what the tags are, things like that. So the team is good. I would suggest, if you've got a lot of investment, if you've already done a lot in Superman, it's probably worth going after Supergirl, a little bit into Superboy and things like that. But I would also say, understand how many anvils you have and things like that, because if you only have like 50 to 100 anvils, maybe you just keep holding, move on to the next characters and things like that. But did want to throw this out there because a lot of people just aren't really sure about SuperFam. There's a lot of stuff out there, but at the same time, I haven't seen a lot of deep dives on the team, especially showcasing them at what's possible at the top levels. So let me know, guys, what do you think about SuperFam? Are you going after them? What have you done to them? Because we're going to be pulling for Supergirl in about a week and a half, trying to get all the anvils together so that we can max Supergirl as we pull. We got to finish off our Superman as well, so trying to get some anvils there. But we're going to be doing a big stream in about a week and a half. Again, I'll have some postings and things like that on when we're going to do it, just like we did with Constantine. And it's going to be a ton of fun trying to get her maxed out and then seeing what the super team and what the super fam can do, with what we have compared to some of the maxed out stuff. So appreciate you guys for everything you do. Until next time, I'll take it easy.